Hey everybody, this is the Earn It Podcast. It's been a minute. It's time to get back with it. All right, everybody. Hey, how's it going? So, what am I talking about? Get back with it. What I'm talking about is, first of all, for those of you that are going into nursing school, I'm not talking to you. What you need to do is prepare. And by prepare, I don't mean mentally prepare. I don't mean you have to try to find a syllabus from somebody and pre-read and pre-go over things, or try to look at the schedule, or try to know what assignments they are. You're not actually going to get a head start, so don't try telling yourself you're going to get a head start if you get the information beforehand and then disappoint yourself before you even start, because you're not going to be able to get started at the same level in which you're not going to basically prepare yourself academically wise. What you need to do if you're a new nursing student going in is you need to prepare the rest of your life. And what I mean by that is, if there are any obligations, make sure that you streamline them. Make sure that you are going to be nice and efficient at them. Make sure that if there is any unfinished business, you are sure that it gets finished before the beginning of whatever your semester is starting. So that's to all you. But really, this episode is for everybody that's in between semesters right now. You've been enjoying your summer. I've been quiet. But it's time to get back to it in a very specific way. Because the next semester that no matter what it is, if you're going into your last semester, then you need to get in bed with NCLEX prep, right? Before you even do the NCLEX prep, you should just look over notes from all the previous semesters. You're going into your second semester, you're going into your third semester. Look over notes from things, especially, the stuff that you forget, all that nitty-gritty pharmacology, all those nitty-gritty terms that nobody really uses, but you're for sure going to get tested on for your tests and for things like NCLEX. The main reason is, and again, there's a difference between when you're going over flashcards, you're going over practice quizzes while you're in school versus now. Now needs to be different, and now needs to be less intense, but it needs to be more relaxed. So going into this with, looking at your previous flashcards, looking at quizzes, looking at practice quizzes, thinking on your previous tests, going in your books, redoing some of the modules that you did, rereading some chapters of the book, you need to not go in it with the same mindset as when you're in nursing school, which is I have to remember every single thing and every single way that they're going to ask the question. What you're doing is you're just looking over the things and re-prompting your brain. You could go back in it thinking, oh, I need to remember every little thing. I forgot this. I need to study that until I get it again. No. You could do that, but right now you're after quantity more than quality, because the whole purpose of what I'm telling you to do is not so that you relearn everything that you forgot. The thing is, every single thing that you learned is somewhere in your brain. So there's two things that are happening here. One, you are mentally preparing yourself for some of the same material and some of the same rigor that you experienced while you were in your previous semester of nursing school. And the second thing is you are sort of rewiring some of those connections, right? So even if you didn't remember it, recalling those things are kind of dusting off those pathways. So the way that we learn is as soon as we read a piece of information, no matter what it is, as soon as we know any little piece of information, it is somewhere in your brain, no matter what it is, no matter how briefly you observed it for. And what learning is just getting a pathway easier and easier until it's quicker to recall. So really learning is creating pathways, not putting something in your brain. So first thing you need to realize is everything is already in your brain, and this process is just trying to reconnect those pathways, or in some cases rewire new pathways altogether, especially if there was something that you didn't understand. So there's another thing that you could do as well. If you don't really feel like going through the hundreds or thousands of flashcards, first of all, you should, right? What you need to do is just skim through them, and anything that you absolutely positively have zero clues about, just set it aside. Just set it aside, right? If you know what it is. Now, go through it initially and then set aside the ones you have zero clues about. You have no chance of comprehending. You have no chance of recalling. Set those aside and get rid of the ones that you're somewhat familiar with for now. If you're really obsessed with knowing every little thing, this is the way to do it. You have your stack of things that you have absolutely zero clues about, and then you go through that kind of learning process with all of those in hand. What you're going to find is probably around 30, maybe 40% of your flashcards, which when you're talking about, a semester, just a single semester of nursing school, let alone if you're going into your fourth, you're talking about probably per semester, I would guess somewhere between 500 to 1,000 flashcards. So what you're doing is reducing the amount. Let's say it's 1,000 flashcards for a semester, for a single semester, by the way. You're getting rid of, at the worst case scenario, you are getting rid of 600 items that you need to worry about if you do it that way, because this is not supposed to be stressful. This is supposed to be getting ready, because the alternative, okay, is shutting this podcast episode off when you're done and not looking at a single thing until the first day of the next semester. But you don't know what's coming. You might have a pop quiz that's actually worth a dang. If you're in a school where you have a testing requirement, you have a grade requirement, right? Nursing school have requirements like that. You don't really know what you're going to be required to recall or be familiar with. And here's the most important thing, right? Because you've learned it all before. You can learn it again, right? In the midst of nursing school. False. Here's the issue, okay? The issue is that you're going to be getting new information at the speed of light during your next semester, and you're not going to have time to set aside and relearn the things that you've forgotten. And in the worst cases, of which there will be many, you cannot understand, grasp, or process the material you're being given in your next semester. You can become stuck because there's something that you don't currently understand. So if you go ahead and get that understanding out of the way while you have all the time in the world, in between sipping pina coladas at the beach or sitting at a coffee shop for a few hours in the morning before you meander somewhere else, whatever your summer entails, okay, it doesn't entail nursing school. So you need to take advantage of that, because here's the thing, it's not just about passing those tests. It's not just about doing well on those next assignments. It's about the fact that at the end of your journey, you have to take the NCLEX, and at the end of your journey, you will be practicing nursing, for God's sakes. So this isn't a short-term, let's get good grades and pass, right? This is a long-term, let's know as much as we can and understand as much as we can so that we can properly apply the things that we know, right? That's what the point is. So again, dust off the old flashcards. You have plenty of time left in the summer. You've had enough time where I haven't bugged you. I've had enough time where I haven't done jack. So, if you're interested in being on the podcast, there is a link in the description of the podcast. And if you're interested in a in-person or virtual study session or two, maybe one a week, maybe an hour a week, until the end of summer, go ahead and fill out that anyway and just put in the kind of like comments that you're just really interested in the whole study session. I'll set up a Zoom session, whatever you need to do. We can walk through things together because let me just tell you, it will be worth taking the time now. So while all your other fellow classmates are slowly sinking in the sinking sand, in the quicksand, you're moving forward because that's what you need to do. So thank you so much for listening to the Earn It podcast. Go ahead and follow, leave a comment on the podcast, share with your friends and family. Thank you very much.